can do it. I'm just gonna put my ass into it. This is the BBC interview with Andrew Tate. I actually have not watched this yet, so let's get into it. Just give it a minute to let you read this if you want to. Just basically criticism.
Andrew Tate,
Hello.
you've agreed to do an interview with the BBC today.
Yep.
The material is going to be published on television, on radio, online.
Perfect.
We are doing an interview with you because you're facing some very serious allegations,
Correct.
rape, human trafficking,
Yep.
and also because there's a great deal of concern about the things you say and the impact that they have on young people, on women.
I don't think the concern's about the things I say. I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have. I would argue that a lot of the things that are already out there inside of the legacy media and the matrix as a whole are far more damaging than the things I say.
It's the concern about the influence you have being a harmful influence, but let's start with the allegations.
Not necessarily a harmful influence. The fact that I'm massively influential over the youth, and I understand that. But it's my influence as a whole which people are afraid of, not necessarily the things I say.
Let's start with the allegations. Have you raped anybody?
Absolutely not.
Have you trafficked anybody?
Absolutely not.
Exploited any women for
Absolutely
money?
not.
But you have admitted using emotional manipulation to get women to work in the webcam industry for you.
No. Firstly, let's begin let's start at the beginning. I'm facing charges. The first one you mentioned, the rape one's already been thrown out by a judge because there's no evidence of it. Secondly, it's very difficult for me to sit here and have a very frank and honest conversation with you while we're in the territory of Romania about a legal case that's going on within Romania. I have to protect myself. I've agreed to do an interview with you, and I want to be as honest with you as possible. But I can't incriminate myself in any way, and I have to be very careful with what I talk about.
There are no charges yet.
Correct, there are no charges.
Has said that
There are no
more
charges,
evidence
and I've agreed to speak to you, but I have to be as honest and frank as I can while also protecting myself and following my legal counsel.
So let's talk about what you've said yourself then. You have said on the website for your original website for the Hustlers University that you emotionally manipulated women to fall in love with you so that you could get them working in the sex industry for your financial gain.
As I said, I have to be very careful with what I say, but let's put it this way. No women are coming out against me and accusing me of doing it.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. Who?
There's testimony from the current investigation.
The current investigation,
other
which I
women
cannot
who've
discuss,
spoken.
which I know intimately and you don't, I can tell you right now that the women who are in this case file, there are 2 American women who have been caught already admitting they're lying.
God, their audio sucks. This is BBC. Apparently their sound engineer is trash. I'm a noob and I could do better than this. God damn. I mean, it's all speculation at the moment, and I'm not, 100% sure one way or the other. The evidence so far, I mean, these guys have been attacking him left and right. Haven't seen much in the way of concrete stuff, and when he throws that in her face, she's like, "Well, I know," and he's like, "I'm literally the subject of the investigation. There's none of this," and the media's been slinging shit left and right. So I think if it was available, if it was out, I mean, there could be sealed testimony as part of the case. I don't know. On the face of it, though, it seems like he's being targeted because there's plenty of other sex traffickers that have real victims, that have real rapes that are not being targeted on this level, unless this is some sort of huge criminal organization that is actually verified as to, sex trafficking activities. If this isn't just a witch hunt with false charges, similar to the indictments for the Russia collusion thing, which went on forever. Everybody's like, it must be true, because it wouldn't go on this long if it didn't. Well, guess what? It wasn't true. There was no evidence. People just strung it along with theory and rumor.
And then nobody else is accusing me of anything.
To begin with, it's very common in cases like this that the alleged victims do not always see themselves as victims.
Well, that's very interesting. It's actually extremely interesting because if I was a matrix-controlled organization and my goal was to slander somebody and try and destroy their name, you're telling me that they've chosen a crime which, one, is heinous, of course, because it damages the person's credibility, and two, you're saying that even if everyone else involved, if you have 5 people and everyone's sitting there saying, no, nobody's hurt anybody, we like Andrew, we've all worked together, or we're friends, etc.
That's not what everybody's saying.
No.
Let me read you some of the testimony from the current investigation.
Can I finish, please?
One of the witnesses said...
Can I finish, please?
You're not answering the question I've asked you. You're not answering the question I've asked you.
I am answering the question. Let
me read you the testimony of one of the witnesses.
You're saying the people who are involved in this, even if they say they're not victims, that they're still going to try and attack me and pretend they're victims.
They are treated as victims by the case that's ongoing. And not all of them are saying that. One of the witnesses says...
We can't go into the case. The case is open and active.
Well, let's just be clear that not all of the witnesses in the case are behaving in the way you describe. And even those that are, it doesn't bar them from being treated as victims by the prosecution by the case.
We have an open criminal investigation. I am absolutely not really sure I'll be found innocent. I know the case better than you. I know it intimately and you don't. I have seen all the criminal files and the evidence against me and you haven't. I know the truth of what happened and you don't. And I'm telling you absolutely and utterly, I've never hurt anybody, that the case that's been put against me is completely and utterly fabricated. And I'm never going to be found guilty of anything. And it's very difficult for me to answer your in-depth questions because we're sitting here inside of the territory of Romania. I'm beholden to the Romanian legal system. And I'm not going to incriminate myself because you're trying to prod me. You are wrong, and we're going to have to accept that for now and talk about something else.
Let me read you then what you have said about
Sure.
what you have done.
Sure.
You have said, my job was to meet a girl, go on a few dates, sleep with her, get her to fall in love with me to the point where she'd do anything I say, and then get her on webcam so we could become rich together.
I don't think that's what I personally said. I think that's
exactly what
no,
you said on your website.
No, I've never said that. That's something that you found on the internet. Doesn't mean I've said it.
In
And
your
and again, once again, if any female on the planet has a problem with me, I strongly recommend her to go to the police and try and pursue me for criminal charges. It's actually very interesting that me, one of the most famous people in the world, who's been vilified by the legacy media and places all over the internet, while everyone has attacked me from every single angle, while federal agencies from multiple countries have called over 2,000 women who know me, we stand here with 0 new accusations since my arrest. 0. If you took any famous person, any man of substantial wealth, and you called 2,000 women who knew him, he'd find an ex-girlfriend is upset, somebody who wants money who's upset. They called 2,000 people who knew me and could not find a single woman to make a new complaint. The only complaints they have against me are the initial complaints, which we can prove are lies, and that's where it stands. So I'm not going to sit here and allow you to pretend that I'm some kind of evil predator, when actually I'd argue the fact that people who've been investigated to the level I've been investigated to, if you were to take the average man on the street and investigate his entire life for 14 months, call everyone who's ever known him, and vilify him in the media, and encourage people to come forward for money, and you try to contact every ex-girlfriend that's ever had.
Would come forward and accuse those people of rape and accuse those
I
people
think that
of
you would have a lot more.
manipulation.
I think you would have a lot more flack than I've got. I'm actually such a nice person that I've never had
The BBC
anyone
has
come
spoken
at.
to somebody since your arrest who says exactly those things. That with you, it's all manipulation. There's an ulterior.
Is this
motive
Sophie?
to everything
Is this
you've
Sophie?
done.
Oh, it's Sophie, the fake name, no face, no
I
one,
was so
the story
intent
that was
on wanting
invented.
to please him and wanting him to be happy that I was just kind of, yeah, okay, do whatever you want.
And what is she
That's
accused? Has she accused me of a crime? This imaginary Sophie?
She's making the point that there is
Has she accused me of a crime?
emotional or psychological manipulation.
I've asked you a question, and I've allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you a question.
Correct, but you're not the boss here, because I've allowed you into my house
I'm asking you the question.
correctly, and I'm telling you.
You get to decide the answers.
No, we're equal here. I've allowed you into my house. You don't come here with a position of authority. I'm doing you the favor as legacy media, giving you relevance by speaking to you. And I'm telling you now, this Sophie, which the BBC has invented, which there's no face of, nobody knows who she is.
The
and
BBC did not invent.
Of course not. And because you never invent anything. And she's not filed criminal charges against me. What are we talking about here? What is she saying?
We're talking about emotional manipulation
Has
into
she-
the sex industry for your financial gain.
Absolute garbage. She has not filed criminal. This person, if they exist, has not filed criminal charges against me. I welcome anybody who believes I've harmed them, male or female, any point in the past, to file criminal charges against me. I will fight them. I know who I am, and I know what I've done, and I know the truth, and I know that I'll be found innocent of this attack. The reason I'm being
Super crazy interview, in the sense that the reporters, like, just giving a lot of speculative evidence and trying to say that that is, some sort of there's some sort of truth to it. Like they've been speculating. He got arrested in December. They've been speculating for months now, and there's no concrete anything. And I watched his Tucker Carlson interview. I figured this was going to be junk, so I didn't really come back. They edited this down to 8 minutes because it went so badly. And The other interesting thing is there's a new podcast out with a couple episodes. This Joe Rogan podcast, AI podcast, and Joe Rogan's interviewing Tate, and it's all fake. So we are moving into a world where if someone wants to frame you and use videos on the internet of you saying things that they want to present in court, I mean, there's definitely pretty easily the capability with a decent, 90 series GPU to produce deepfakes in a pretty reasonable amount of time. Like if you have the interest and you have the hardware, almost anyone can train a model off of the footage. If there's plenty of footage available, you can train the model and then make a video of yourself doing something and then slam their face on your body performing whatever behaviors that you want, and you can include the voice training. So there's deepfake voice, deepfake video, and you can pair the two together. So speaking about videos on the internet that prove that he said these things, it's becoming a very gray area, and that's a very strange thing to have to say, because it used to be video evidence was believable and certain. Like, look, it's on video, it's not a photo. You can't doctor video like that. Well, that's not true anymore. Now you can do whatever you want.
Attacked is because of my massive influence, not because I've ever hurt anybody. And for you to sit here and say that everybody around you is saying you're innocent, but that doesn't matter because the state will say they're victims and they're just going to grab everybody you know and call everybody victims, even if they say they're not, and try and put you in jail. You are describing a matrix attack. You're not describing human trafficking.
I'm describing women who are going to court to accuse you of rape and human trafficking.
We will see what women go. We will see what women go to court at
Can
the
I
end of
finish,
this trial.
please?
We'll see which women go
Can
to
I
court.
finish, please?
We'll see which women go to court.
I'm describing women who are going to court to accuse you of rape and human
Sophie
trafficking.
hasn't gone to court. Sophie doesn't exist.
And I'm describing women who have spoken to the BBC at length.
Sophie doesn't exist.
And other media organisations about what they say is emotional manipulation and coercion. And I'm quoting back to you your own words where you describe
They're not my words.
Coercion.
They're words
They're
words you found on the internet, and Sophie doesn't exist.
On your
so let's move on to
website,
the next subject.
In your voice.
Move on to the next subject.
No, I think I'll stick on this one for a minute. So there's other places in that same website where you say you get girls to fall in love with you and they do it because they love you, because they want to do what you say. Convincing women to take part in some kind of business arrangement doesn't work long term because they're emotional. You've got to get them to fall in love with you.
Once
That's
again,
coercion, that's emotional manipulation, that's abuse.
what you've found are clips from the internet, some text from the internet, and you're going to sit here and tell me that that's the reason I should be
Your
put in jail.
website, your words.
It's not my website.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Check my website. Next.
It's the website you've taken down, and I wonder why those comments have been taken down.
No website's been taken down. My website is the same. It's been the same for a very long time.
If you want to look at the old website, you can go to Google Archive and search old versions. Like that stuff doesn't go away even if you take your website down. The Titan sub, they tried to take their shit down too, and I just went on Google Archive. I was looking at their bragging posts about how great their sub is and how revolutionary they are and all this stuff, and that didn't age very well, so they took it down right while all this stuff was going on. And I am reading a little bit. It seems like Romania does have a specific law in place for the lover boy method. If he was indeed doing this, sort of emotional manipulation to encourage women to come move to his house or something, there are laws against it, and he will get in trouble for it. I mean, a lot of other countries don't have laws against that specifically, but because you've got such a huge problem in that region of the world with sex trafficking and abductions and all this stuff, they have, I guess, some more robust laws against it because it's so prevalent. But innocent until proven guilty. I'm not defending the man. I'm just listening to what he says, and I wanted to hear, how ridiculous the BBC attacks on him were, and whether it was based in evidence or just screaming and crying because I hate Andrew Tate and I don't like what he says, so I want him to go away and die in a hole somewhere. That's a very pathetic attitude to have. If you're out there and you want people to just die because they have a different opinion of you, or to be jailed because they don't agree with your ideology, then you're basically emulating Hitler. Nice job.
Comments on this website, on the original website, have been taken down, and I wonder why.
You are accusing me, I'm guessing, what you're trying to say is you're accusing me and you're trying to say that I'm guilty of the things I'm accused of and I'm emotionally manipulating people.
I'm saying that you have said you emotionally manipulated people here for your own financial gain.
No, absolutely not.
And I'm asking you about that.
Absolutely not is the answer. I look forward to the end of this trial. I look forward to clearing my name. I look forward to the BBC and the legacy media having to say not guilty and having to tell the truth. As I've said before, the only other person who's been found, despite absolute rigorous, destructive levels of investigation and prodding into my life, is this imaginary Sophie by the BBC who doesn't exist. And if you were to find any single other man on earth and try and analyze his life forensically to the level they've done mine, you would find genuine damage to people. I don't hurt people.
It's not just...
Thousands of women have come out in my defense. Thousands of women have come out in my defense, and you've not mentioned that. Thousands of women come out in my defense.
Because the problem is when women accuse you of serious crimes.
Okay,
and emotional
but
manipulation.
let's agree that
That's
thousands
the
of women...
problem.
So I guess, I don't know, I'm not the expert on this. I guess women have come out in support, but I haven't seen any figures publicly accusing him, which is weird if this is like a big problem and he was running a business on it. And he was also doing Hustlers University, where he was trying to tell people about how he made his wealth, and I think he did say some of these things. I don't know if there was truth behind it. That's the thing. People, when they're trying to sell things, Dan Bilzerian is another great example of bragging about shit that's not real to sell his brand and talk about what a baller he is and how he tells hundreds of women what to do and I'm the man. They do whatever I say. He's trying to cultivate this image of like hyper masculinity. Like he's got like 10 of his girls waiting, fiending outside his door, like he's trying to get some work done, and they all just want to have sex with him so bad that he can't even, that's the image that some of these people portray. So I don't know. You can't convict a guy just because he said some stuff on the internet. If I made a video saying I murdered so and so, I murdered 100 people, you can't just say, oh well, he said on a video that he murdered 100 people, conviction, boom. Doesn't work that way. Thankfully, because a lot of people would be in jail for talking shit.
Let's agree that
It's not the problem that some people say you haven't done it. It's a problem that some people say you have.
thousands of women come out in my defense, and as we stand right now, we have an open criminal investigation. The people who are involved in the criminal investigation are saying that we're not victims of anything. Andrew's fine, he's never hurt us. You're saying, no, I have the opposite to that. I have to counter that. I have someone called Sophie with no face, a fake name, who we've invented, and she's not accusing you of anything criminal. So I don't see the whole point you're trying to make here.
You say you manipulate women, they say you manipulate women. Why wouldn't people think you do?
I'm not here. Do you think I'm manipulating you?
I'm asking you about the testimony you've given on your website and the testimony
No,
women have given
you've
about
printed
you.
something off that you found on Reddit, and you're going to sit here and say that that makes me a bad person. And I'm saying that you should know better as a journalist and do some proper journalism. Let's investigate the fact that
I
thousands...
think you should answer my questions
I am.
properly.
How fucking dare he tell a journalist to do fucking journalism? That's not... No, they're trying to make sponsored content, buddy. Investigative journalism? Why don't you go ride your dinosaur back to wherever the fuck you came from? Idiot.
I already have, and we should move on. She's just trying to start an argument.
It's not only about the criminal allegations. It's a much bigger issue. You've got children's organisations in the UK, you've got rape organisations in the UK, you've got the police naming you by name as someone who has a harmful influence on children and on women in the UK and elsewhere because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
That's very upsetting. And the reason that's very upsetting is because I know that's not true.
He says to treat women with respect. Treat yourself with respect. Treat women with respect. I don't know what he said a while ago, but that's what he's saying now. And that's part of being a man. If you're going to be a male role model, I don't personally look up to shitbags that are just fucking around, and you know, you can listen to a guy and take part of his wisdom and internalize it and not embody the entire part of him. He's explained some things to me that I didn't fully understand. Talking about, well, they can't kill the military age males in this country, but they can certainly, since they can't cut their heads off, they can certainly chop their balls off and make them impotent and put things in the water either intentionally or accidentally that decrease testosterone, decrease fertility, lower the population, and make men more compliant, and also impose social consequences for not being compliant and standing up and saying toxically masculine things. Instead of making laws against it, just make it so that a mob attacks you on the internet and defames you, and then comes up with criminal charges. And if neither of those two things are able to stop you, then they murder you. And that's why he keeps saying that he's not suicidal, because unless they have some new playbook, the third option, if the first two fail, if this bullet doesn't sink him and the charges don't stick, the next step is murder, or suiciding someone. Trump, they didn't go straight to murder. Trump, they're doing a second round of the legal charges. We'll see if that works out for them. They're charging him with stuff that it's on record that other politicians in high levels have done, as far as mishandling classified documents with little to no ramifications, but he's being treated as a traitor of the state. Um, and so if I was him, I wouldn't lay down either, because who gives a shit? I'd rather live for a short time in a good world than a long time in a shithole.
I'm genuinely a good person. I believe my impact on the world is positive. In fact, if you were to read the comment section of nearly any video I post, especially by the legacy media, 95% of the population agree with me. Most people know that the things I say are positive. Legacy media as a whole has lost all its credibility in the last 3 to 4 years. Nobody believes it. And it's a shame, it's a massive shame that the BBC come here and try and push and purport this idea that I'm a dangerous person.
I'm
anti-drugs. I've never put...
I mean, Tate might say some negative things, but overall, it is a message of positivity, at least for me as a man. I can't speak for everybody's experience. I'm sure there's people that just everything about him crawls under their skin. But I would say that between Tate and mainstream media, who's more negative? Who gives you more negativity in your life? I mean, all the media does is tell you bad shit. It's just shock and awe and negativity, because they know that that's what stimulates a response. If you just tell people about how good things are, they will get extremely bored, extremely quickly. So it's their business is negative, bad crap that just drags you down and makes your life worse and depresses you. No wonder we're on Prozac and all kinds of other stuff. Just coping with listening to the news constantly hammer home that everything sucks and it's going to hell. You're fucking screwed. The sky's falling.
Push drugs or any. I'm anti-drugs. I'm anti-violence. The UK is facing a knife crime epidemic, and they're going to sit here and say that I'm the most dangerous man in the UK.
You have said you're the most dangerous man in the world.
I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world.
You've also said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner. I'm glad you find that funny.
I find it funny that you're sitting here saying that I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world, and you believe that's. When did I say that?
I'm asking if you believe it.
No, you said you're the most dangerous man in the world. Is that some kind of proof that I'm dangerous? Am I Dr. Evil now? I'm telling you.
She's conflating him saying he's dangerous because the establishment doesn't like him and he threatens their narrative, and actual danger, like he's going to physically harm women or other people. I mean, he is dangerous because he is a loose cannon. He's physically fit, so if someone did try to get in an altercation with him, he could be dangerous. But he's also dangerous because he's saying things that you're not supposed to say on the internet, and she's playing dumb like she doesn't understand the context. These interviewers love to take shit out of context and then edit the video down and make you look like you said left when you actually said right. They try to make it look like you're saying left. I mean, it's completely disingenuous. She is smarter than that. I know that she's only playing dumb.
That it's very upsetting that you're going to sit here and that certain organizations in the world are going to try and pretend that I'm the biggest force of evil on earth when I'm genuinely a force for good.
You have said.
I'm genuinely a force
Not
for
what
good.
I've said.
And the reason they're doing this is because of the massive influence I have over the youth, and they don't like that I'm telling the youth to think outside of the matrix and ignore things like the BBC, which come here with loaded questions and false narratives and try and paint innocent people as guilty.
You said women's intimate parts belong to their male partner.
I said that if a woman marries a man, she takes his last name and traditionally the man gives her away. I've been pushing traditional religious beliefs, because I'm a religious man, and traditional beliefs in regards to marriage, which everybody accepted 10 to 15 years ago.
So
that's not a...
Is it offensive to say that a wife owns the husband's penis? I'm not sure. Like, I guess a certain type of person would be offended by that, but I would have no problem with my partner saying, "Your dick is mine." I'd be like, okay, dick, just as long I'll hold on to it, but you can use it whenever you want.
Crazy conspiracy theory. If you're going to sit here and say that me believing a woman should take a man's last name in marriage makes me the most dangerous man in the world, then you're just going to lose even more credibility than the BBC's already lost in the last 4 to 5 years. If that's your point, if that's your narrative you want to push,
say that
good
men
luck.
should be able to sleep with a lot of women outside marriage. That doesn't sound very religious or very conservative.
That's not what I said they should be able to. I said a lot of high-value men, a lot of rich men do it. And then we discussed at length on podcasts why rich men do it. And we also discussed why women decide to be unfaithful. It's not a gendered argument. We discussed unfaithfulness as a whole. What are the reasons and motivations for men, and what are the reasons and motivations for women? Because you have no time to actually...
High-value people have options. High-value people can sleep with many people if they choose. High-value people must have virtues and morality in order to not do so. That is the definition of having discipline. Someone who doesn't sleep with anybody, but who doesn't have any options and no one wants to sleep with them, that's not laudable. That's not like an accomplishment. You just don't have access to it. You're not exercising self-control. No one's giving you the time of day. And this is what he's talking about. And again, she's like, "What? I don't get it. I'm going to frame it in a way where I'm going to just skew it in the most negative light." I mean, they did this with Trump, where it's like Trump literally was a part of getting peace in the Middle East with what's his name, his nephew, brokered the deal, and they basically made him out to be like something anti-Semitic was, I don't know. It's a slam piece no matter what he does. You know, he cures cancer. He's like, well, he just did it for money. He only cured cancer because, you know, he wants to make more money because he's greedy, not because he cares about people. And it's like, just gets old, you know, stupidity.
Time to actually watch my content, because you have no time to actually watch my content at length and understand what I'm saying. You just come here with a small snippet which we provided to you on a piece of paper.
3 times doesn't make it true.
No, completely. You don't have a clue what I say or what I talk about. You never watch my content. You have small pieces of paper, small clips on a piece of paper, and you're trying to pretend I've said evil things. And then you're going to say I'm the most dangerous man in the world, which is truly laughable.
You said that, not me.
Okay. Do you believe I'm the most dangerous man in the world, Lucy?
I'm not answering your questions.
Well, then we need to change the dynamic of this interview.
Free speech. I'm the most dangerous man in the world. Does it make it true? Just because I fucking say it? No, it doesn't.
Because, and I'll make this clear, I allowed you into my home. I'm doing you a favor, giving you the first interview I'm giving to the public. You don't come here with a position of authority. You're not the police.
Not just that. Why would she come to his house if she was taking that statement seriously? She thinks it's just as ridiculous as anybody else who doesn't have an ego and says that about themselves. So you hear someone say that, you're like, what an idiot. You're not the most dangerous person in the world. Just go away. Unless you're Chapo or something like that. Or Hitler or the Ming guy, the Ming dynasty. I think he killed like 10 times what Hitler killed, or like 100 million dead Chinese, something like that, in the same time period. Stalin, Ming, I think, and then Hitler. They are all just murdering people like it was going out of style. Like, we better get it done before this isn't cool anymore.
I don't respect the BBC. I don't know you. You do not come here with a position of authority over me. We are equals. We are people. We're citizens of the world, and we sit here as equals. And I see you as my equal, and if you ask me questions, I can ask you questions back. For you to come here and sit down and pretend you're the Gestapo and that you don't have to answer my questions is disingenuous, because I don't owe you anything.
Asking questions and you answer.
But I don't owe, no.
However you want.
This is a conversation, and I don't owe you any degree of authority over me. So let's make that clear. And that doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or from the BBC or the CNN. I'm here to answer your questions and be honest with you and do you a favor.
Great.
And I'm doing you a favor, but you come here with loaded questions, you're trying to paint a narrative of me which is negative.
I'm asking you
And
about
that's
things
fine.
you've said that people are concerned about.
And that's fine,
You
but
have
you're not
said
going to sit
a
here and say you
woman's-
don't answer my questions because you're not above me.
This is also not supposed to be a third degree, it's supposed to be a conversation.
Absolutely.
Well, it would help if you answered the question.
I've answered every question so far.
Let me ask you another question.
Sure.
You have said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner, and if she goes on OnlyFans, he is entitled to a cut of her income.
You are extremely, it's very confusing to me why you're going to sit here, take long format podcasts I've done, which are 3 or 4 hours long, in context where I've sat with OnlyFans girls, 10 or 15 OnlyFans girls, where we've been joking back and forth, ignore every comment and satirical comment and sarcastic comment that the females have made.
Just take that
and then
one
come
more.
along and say, you said this, and you're the most evil man in the world. I don't know if you understand what sarcasm
Did you
is.
say it?
I don't know if you understand what sarcasm is. I don't know if you understand what context is. I don't know if you understand what...
Yeah, he said it. I'm pretty sure I've heard him say it. But the thing that she's missing about it is that he's at the face of it not encouraging a partner to be going on OnlyFans. Like, this is not what he's saying to do. However, if as a man you're with a woman and she decides to go on OnlyFans, and you're gonna accept the diminishment of your relationship, the diminishment of the intimacy between the two of you, then it should be household income. Because if she's going on OnlyFans and showing her private parts to other people, engaging with them for money, because they usually talk to these guys that are buying the content, giving them attention, then you're emotionally cheating, and you're physically showing yourself off. These are the emotional connection in your body is something that you're supposed to give to your partner. And if you're not, then if you're doing it for the relationship, like if the two of you are struggling and need more household money in this, you don't have any other options. He's just saying that if that choice is going to be made, which is a terrible choice. I mean, I don't recommend anybody do that. That's single girls, sure, but it's just not. It doesn't make any sense for you to be in a relationship and be on OnlyFans exposing yourself. Even as a single person, that content will live forever. So 5 years later, when you're done with OnlyFans and you're trying to have a relationship, all your boyfriend's friends are going to be able to, or your girlfriend's friends, if you're attractive enough as a man to go on and show yourself naked and have anybody pay attention, because the male naked form is not very valuable, since most men are more than willing to show off their naked body. It's just not something anyone wants to see. If you are able to do that, then either gender is going to be haunted by that content, and your friends, if you're dating this person, are going to be like, hey, I saw the video of so and so getting slammed or naked or doing whatever compromising things. It removes that special bond and that special thing that you can share with someone voluntarily, and just freely gives it to the internet. And that's why people pay so much for it, because it's a violation. At the core of it, it's a violation.
Satirical content.
So you're saying it's sarcastic?
I'm saying it was a very interesting talk show. And for you to sit here and say that is my true core beliefs and that makes me a bad person is disingenuous.
Is it?
Of course not.
Was it sarcasm?
Absolutely. You should watch the show.
You were being sarcastic
You should-
when you said... Let me just clarify,
You should
okay?
watch the show.
Let me clarify for the audience. You were being sarcastic when you said a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner.
No.
You didn't believe that.
No, it's not that. It's that you haven't watched the show at length, and you should have, because the woman was saying, my man's car belongs to me because he's my man. And she was on OnlyFans. And then 20 minutes later, when she said she was on OnlyFans, I said, well, you're selling your body, that belongs to him because he's your man. And she laughed. She laughed and she said, ha ha, yeah, that's probably true. If you watch the show, it will make sense.
Instead of just taking shit out of context, if you didn't even see the whole episode, you're just cherry picking. I mean, you said the word "the," but you provide no context, like...
For you to come here with doing no research at all, and then say, I don't understand what I'm talking about, but I've got this piece of paper with a few things printed off, that's why you're saying the silly things you're saying. You should watch the show, do some research.
Do you believe it?
You already answered
I've
that.
already answered the question.
Not really.
Of course I have. Can we move on? I've answered the question.
Do you believe that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male
Of course not. I've just answered the question.
You just answered that. You said exactly
Yeah,
that.
we've done that 3 times.
And does this woman believe that her man's car belongs to her? It's not a gendered argument. I really think that it's genuinely sad that when the BBC has a chance to finally interview me at the end of all this Matrix attack, that they don't come here with any kind of genuine openness to try and understand my influence over the world, or the things I push, or what I'm trying to teach the world, or why I'm a good influence on the world, because I am a massively good influence. Instead, they come here with pieces of paper, with printed out excerpts from 5-year-old podcasts, taken out of context, to attempt the same Matrix attack on me, which has been attempted endlessly. Every single person in Legacy Media has already tried this, and it doesn't work. I really encourage you. I encourage you to read the comment section on YouTube when this goes on YouTube, and you will see that nobody believes a word you're saying.
The
This is
reason we're
garbage.
asking you about these comments is because we've got the chief executive of Rape Crisis naming you individually as spreading a dangerous ideology of misogynistic rape culture.
Absolute
It's the comments you make that are leading people to say things like
Absolute
this.
garbage.
National organizations who are saying that are blaming you for
National organizations are saying, oh, it must be true. I've never heard this guy promote rape culture, and if he was promoting rape culture, I would want nothing to do with listening to him. I've heard him talk about being a better man. I've heard him talk about success. I've heard him talk about mindset. Heard him talk about fitness. The only reason that I watch content creators is for positive. I want them to build me up. You know, I'm trying to do the best I can on my own, but it is helpful to have other people engaged in the conversation. Other people, their commentary is valuable when you're trying to understand what the hell it is you're supposed to be doing here. You know, the world is a confusing place, and being a human is a confusing experience sometimes. And it is helpful to have other humans who are thoughtful and trying to think through the same problems and the same things that you're dealing with, provide commentary and provide wisdom, or at least intellect. Not everybody has wisdom, but I think I've heard wisdom from Andrew Tate. He's broken down a lot of things in a very simple, clearly understandable manner, and that helps me to understand the world a little bit better.
increasing levels of misogyny. Schools that are saying they are having increased incidents of girls being attacked, of female teachers being harassed
If that was
by
true,
pupils
if that
because of you and your teaching
well, that's
and your
absolute
influence.
that's absolute garbage. I have
That's
never
garbage.
ever encouraged a student to attack a teacher, male or female, ever. I preach hard work, discipline. I'm an athlete. I
Yes.
preach anti-drug. I preach religion. I preach no alcohol. I preach no knife crime. Every single problem with modern society, I'm against.
She's just showing her ass. She's showing that didn't do any research to prepare for this. If she did, she doesn't understand the content at all, and probably had a negative attitude when viewing it. And when you view things through a negative lens, you know, if you view things through a piece of glass that's orange, everything looks orange, right?
I'm teaching young men to be disciplined, to be diligent, to listen, to train, to work hard, to be exactly like me, with no criminal record, never even yet charged in this 14-month Matrix investigation. And I'm saying that if men grew up like me, which are hardworking and diligent and some emotional control and stoic, we're going to have a better society, not a worse society. To sit here and say that schools in England, which is a failing nation, which has knife crime going through the roof, violence going through the roof, men's mental health going through the roof, and they're going to all blame me because I appeared on the internet
You
1 year
sell an
ago,
image of
is
success.
disingenuous. It's disingenuous.
You
And
sell
also,
an image
also,
of financial
if-
success
correct.
with a Bugatti and a cigar, but it comes with a side order of misogyny.
How does having a Bugatti and a cigar come with misogyny?
Because it's all mixed together in what you teach. You teach that a woman, if a woman
Just because I guess women don't like Bugattis and cigars? Is that why? That it's misogynistic to drive a car and smoke a cigar? That's such a confusing statement.
comes home and accuses you of cheating, you should hit her with a machete, shove her off.
Is that what I teach?
That's what you say.
No, if you actually watch the clip, it will be about the woman attacking me with a machete. As usual, you've not watched the video, taken it out of context, flipped it, and attempted to attack me with a small excerpt. Let me tell you something, Lucy. I'm sure you're a very nice person. I'm sure you're a fantastic person. But if I were to take everything you've ever said online and just take small excerpts out of context, I could make you look like a misogynist. I guarantee it. In fact, I might actually do that. And then you're going to sit here and say, oh shit, I'm a misogynist because my clips have been taken out of context. If you refuse to watch anything at length and understand it, then that's what's going to happen.
The National Police Chiefs League for Violence Against Women, the NSPCC, Rape Crisis, Safer Schools, they are all naming you as being behind an epidemic of misogyny, even among...
So it's a criminal consortium. I mean, it's a lot of people have a bunch of different opinions on the police. I personally think that they're adjacent to organized crime. They just have the backing of the government. Some of the stuff that cops have gotten away with, I personally know some retired officers who could tell some stories that were more outrageous than some of the crime shows that I've watched, stealing stuff out of the evidence locker for parties and all kinds of crazy stuff was happening in the 80s. I guarantee that it's just not being talked about, So just because the police, just because these organizations, I mean, England doesn't give a shit about Andrew Tate. The embassy didn't come visit him. They basically abandoned him. They were talking negatively about him in Parliament. So at a country level, at a governmental level, they hate Andrew Tate. The whole country has Tate derangement syndrome, TDR, just like Trump. He's the Trump of the UK, I guess. I don't know. Except he's not the president. But they just can't wrap their minds around what he's trying to say, apparently.
Primary school children.
The idea that I made primary school children misogynistic because I own a nice car. Is that your argument?
It's the misogyny that comes along with it.
Oh, owning a nice car is misogynist.
No, it's the misogyny that comes along with it.
How does misogyny come along with owning a nice car?
Because you have an image of financial
I'm glad you're answering my questions now. We finally got the dynamic.
You have an image of financial
success. She's answering my
success.
questions, as she should.
Excuse me. You have an image of financial success, but it comes along with attitudes towards women that are really problematic.
My attitudes towards women is that women should be protected and provided for, and I've said that at length. In fact, I've said that over 50 times online, you never mention it. I say that my girlfriend doesn't have to work unless she wants to, I take care of her, I die to protect a woman. I've talked about how I've stood up and faced a knife to protect a woman.
And in return, you want authority over her in the way you have over a child or a dog.
Absolutely not. I've said that women should be protected and provided for.
And in return, you want authority over her, because if you have responsibility for someone like a child or a dog, you say, you have authority over them.
If you want to go down this argument, we'll go down this nuanced argument. I said that if I have responsibility for her safety, I should have a degree of authority over her safety. Meaning, and let me explain my point. If I'm the one who has to fight and die to protect her, I'm the one who decides how we walk home. I'm the one who decides the route we take. Because it's unfair for her to say, I want to walk through the most dangerous neighborhood in the world, but you have to face the knives. That's what I've said. And then you're going to sit here and pretend that I'm trying to treat women like dogs, which is garbage. Every single man in the world who...
Some people might say nuance is bullshit, but nuance is important. And I think that is a perfect representation of a fair relationship. A relationship is good and give and take. It's not an OnlyFans girl saying, my boyfriend's car is my property, but he has no say over me whatsoever. That's just as bad as when it was misogyny and men gave no power to women. Now you've got women that are trying to do the same thing. It's human nature to steal power from others, and it takes a great degree of thought and discipline to share power and try and be fair to each other. It's a two-way street, and this is why relationships fail so often, is because people just cannot conceptualize being fair to other human beings. It's most people are extremely selfish, and if they won't admit to this, but the truth is that they really think that they're the center of the universe, because the movie that they're watching is being played out from their point of view, and they can't get past that one perspective issue. They can't actually put themselves in another person's shoes and show true empathy, not sympathy. Sympathy is when you look at someone else and say, poor them. Empathy is saying, how would I feel if I were that person?
Who loves this woman understands that he has to protect her. And every single woman in the world likes the idea of a man who would protect her. If you were to say to most women home right now, do you want your husband to protect you in a violent attack? They'd say, yeah, of course. Nothing I've said is
If you said
misogynistic.
to most women, would you want to lose authority in the relationship, to not be treated as a free and legal equal to your
I didn't say that. I said I need to have authority over the route we walk home.
When you compare women and the...
I would submit that a woman would leave you if you were confronted with a violent attack and you ran instead of protecting her and you left her to fend for herself. I'm pretty sure that that would be the end of your relationship. So not only are you expected to do so, you will be diminished in the eyes of your partner if you turn into a coward. They expect a certain level of manliness from you, and yet they don't want to give anything for it anymore. It should be free, and nothing in life is free. The sooner that everybody understands that, the less you'll get screwed over by other people. Because I think a lot of people get taken for a ride thinking that they're getting something for free, and it never works that way, ever.
The authority over women that you believe you should have to having authority over a child or a dog, it's not the same, because a woman is a free, legal adult.
Correct.
You're equal.
Free, legal adult, my equal. But if I had a girlfriend and we were walking home late at night and I said, let's not walk down that area, it's a bad area, I have to protect you if anything happens, I want to take the long way. And she said, no, I have to walk this way, even though it's the most dangerous route, I must.
Then what?
And then I would say, you're welcome to, you could do it, you're a free and legal equal, but I'm not going to walk with you and protect you. I think that I should be able to decide the route because I have an obligation. And my obligation as a man is to protect and provide for females. Everything I'm talking about is traditional gender roles, which 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago, would not be considered outlandish, would not be considered crazy, would not be considered dangerous or misogynistic. The world has changed, and a lot of people haven't changed with the world. Please understand there's a lot of women at home watching this right now who like the idea of their man sticking up for them, protecting them, and providing for them. And just because the world has gone crazy and the legacy media has gone crazy, most people at home are still relatively sane. And these are the people who are going to write on the comments that Andrew isn't saying anything that's outlandish.
There's a difference between...
Sorry, Matthew changed the camera. These are the different values that Antonio was bringing.
It's the whole world believes these things.
I don't know why you're doing this. I don't know why you're doing this. I told you. Same as twice. I told you. They come in, they smile, they shake their hands, and then they read one talking line excerpts from Black Roll.
It's fine. It's fine.
It goes like that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm having a nice conversation with you, so I'm enjoying it. So it's no problem. It's been fun so far.
These people are on camera all this time. People are on your told shelter today.
It's fine.
Good.
We good?
Yes.
Tell me when.
Do you want to clap again?
Yes, no. We didn't stop, no?
I can do the clap. Now we good?
No, thank you. Thanks.
If a man broke into your house, wouldn't you want your husband to protect you?
There's a difference between conservative values and emotional control, coercive control.
We're
lack
talking
of
about
consent.
protection now, and I'm saying if someone broke into your house, would you want your husband to protect you?
It's not about conservative values or protection, it's what you're demanding in return for that.
Well, I'll give you this. I don't know who your husband is. I don't know if he would stand up to protect you or die for you, but I'll give you this. If someone broke into this house right now and was a homicidal maniac, I would expect me and the other men in this room to stand up and face them while you and the other women in this room could protect yourselves. I would actually believe the men should go and engage the attacker. I believe that. And even though I don't know you, and you've come into my house with a hostile agenda, and you've come here to try and make me look bad, I would still stand up to protect you. I would still stand up to protect you because I believe that's my role as a man.
I am asking you about things that you have said that have caused major national organizations, including the police, to worry about you by name. That's what I'm asking you
It's
about.
not what I say.
It's not about
Oh,
whether
the
you
police.
protect your partner or
Fuck
not. It's
the
about what you have
police.
said that has caused such concern in the UK. And I want to put it to you that you don't really care about the harm it causes.
That's not true.
Because
That's not true.
making controversial statements like this online has made you a lot of money.
Okay, so first thing, I genuinely am a force for good in the world. You may not understand that yet, but you will eventually. And I genuinely believe I'm acting under the instruction of God to do good things, and I want to make the world a better place. I genuinely believe my legacy is a good legacy, and I believe that eventually, when the legacy media catches up, they're going to understand I'm a good, positive influence. I'm not interested in damaging the world for money, because if I was interested in damaging the world for money, I could have sold drugs, or I could make rap music and encourage everyone to stab each other like all the drill artists do.
Or you can make controversial statements online that attract a lot of followers who you then direct to your website
I could
where
make-
they pay
I could make
to
jokes.
learn how to be
Sure,
like you.
I mean, I could make
I mean, shocking that the police doesn't like Andrew Tate. If the government doesn't like Andrew Tate, are the police, how are they associated with the government? Oh yeah, they're the arm of the government that goes out and enforces the laws that the government creates. So the police are subservient to the government. Whatever agenda is at the governmental level, the police are going to toe the line because where do they get their funding? From state governments, federal government, wherever, whatever type of law enforcement branch it is. They don't own a business. They're not selling products, you know. They're getting handouts from tax dollars, so they need to toe the line if they want to continue to be funded.
I could make jokes online. Who doesn't? I mean, I could make a joke
Are you
online.
saying that all the controversial things you've said are jokes?
No, I'm saying that these organizations and the BBC who are going to sit here and pretend that I am the face of damaging the youth is absolutely garbage. It's completely disingenuous.
It makes you
And the
wonder.
reason
I'm sorry, we have agreed to do an interview where you are going to ask questions that are going to give us the opportunity to clarify some things. These are very loaded questions.
sorry,
and so far, I'm sorry, I have arranged this and I'm talking right now. So, these are very loaded questions, and this is not what we discussed, and this is not the conversation that we agreed
We were
to.
very
You're
clear that the
sitting
questions
there,
are
You're sitting there and just accusing, we're not here to face new allegations, this has all been discussed, answers have been provided, so if we could please move on from this side of the interview, I would appreciate it.
I would like to hear what Andrew has got to say about the fact that when you make controversial statements, it attracts people to follow you, and then you direct them to your website where they pay you.
Is the algorithm the devil too? Because that's how that works. Engagement is generated by controversy and anger or love, and it just manipulates human emotion and turns it into content that you react to. You feel something, you get a visceral response to. So it's not some witchcraft that he's doing. It's human nature, you know. He is simply doing what human beings react to. That's it. I mean, is that somehow evil? I don't know. I don't think so.
A monthly fee to learn how to be like you. And so the more controversial statements you make, the more money you get.
the fact that that's the path you've outlined to one, my online university, and two, my presence on the internet, the fact that you believe that's the path just shows you've done absolutely zero research. Genuinely zero research.
Okay, so how many of the people who sign up for Hustlers University come to you through your social media?
Genuinely zero research.
How many of the people who sign up for Hustlers University come to you through your social media where you direct them to the website?
And Lucy, I encourage you to go out there, do some genuine research, watch my
Did you
videos,
answer my
of
question?
course, watch my videos at length, and truly understand what I'm doing.
How many of the people who sign up for Hustlers University at $49.99 a month come to you because they see your social media comments?
There's an online school called
And
Hustlers.
So, in my opinion, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate, these podcasts, these podcasters that discuss human behavior are simply explaining human psychology and trying to help you understand your shortcomings and why you're tempted by things so that you can become a better master of yourself. And they also try to help you understand why other people treat you a certain way, why other people react a certain way. They are simply explaining the way humans work and the way the world works. And I think that the establishment wants you to remain ignorant. And one of the major contributors to these people being perceived as threatening is the enlightenment that they provide. The world is not yet ready to accept psychedelic drugs, even though they have a storied history in human past. A lot of coming of age rituals, becoming a man. Often you were dosed with psychedelics and it made you face this transition from being a child into becoming an adult. They force you to look inward and address things that you normally ignore or avoid because you're afraid to face them. And in order to become a man, you need to resolve, or it's going to be a lot better for you if you have unresolved issues from childhood and adolescence. If you can face those as part of a coming of age process, it's going to make you a stronger person. It's going to make you more able to cope with the world and everything that's about to be thrown at you when you become an adult. All the responsibilities that are suddenly yours to bear. Um, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that's only a bad thing if you want to keep people ignorant and stagnant. If you really want people to grow, then you should celebrate people who are out there trying to help other people understand the world better and help them, through that understanding, be a better person and make better choices. Because often ignorance is the culprit for bad choices. Most people don't want to make the worst choice possible. They do it accidentally because they don't understand things well enough at the time. And that failure is a learning experience so that the next time they try to make a better decision. But if we can be saved from some of those negative outcomes by people trying to share their experiences, that's good for humanity.
Called Hustlers University, which I don't own, I influence for along with many other influencers, and they sign up for your website, which I don't own. And once again, that's nothing to do with me. And you're going to sit here and say that I made a joke. I made a joke online 4 years ago because a woman said that she owned her man's car, and you made a joke, and that means that you, because you have a Bugatti, are the most misogynistic, dangerous man in the world. This is going down a path of absolute insanity. It's not true. None of this is true. I don't hurt people. I don't harm people. I'm genuinely a positive influence.
You are renowned.
I'm renowned
for offensive and controversial.
That's not why I'm renowned.
comments
I'm
about
actually renowned.
manipulation.
I'm actually renowned for helping young men, because we talk about there's a men's mental health crisis, and we talk about we pretend to care that men are upset. But as soon as I discuss men's issues, it's misogynistic. It doesn't have to be gender. Just because I believe men have a point of view and men have rights and men are allowed to think and believe and act a certain way that helps them internally, that doesn't mean it's anti-female. In fact, I believe it's actually pro-female. I think when a man is true to his influence and true to his essence and he's good within himself, he's a positive influence in the world and he's positive for the women around him.
So
just
why
because
are
I
so
discuss
many
men's
women-
issues, people say, oh, you're anti-woman. I'm not anti-woman, I love women.
Why are so many women saying that when their boyfriends start following you,
They're not.
they experience more control?
So many.
They experience
How many?
more abuse.
How many?
Enough.
Enough. Well, this is the first time I've heard of it. So, in fact,
One is too many.
oh, of course, yeah. So, in fact, I've seen thousands and thousands of comments and have endless emails from women praising
Doesn't it worry you?
praising the fact that their sons are listening to me,
Does it not worry
praising
you?
the fact that their
The
husbands.
things I'm saying, does it not worry you?
It would worry. It would
You're
worry.
not concerned about.
There are a ton of men that aren't worth dating out there that if they listen to someone like Andrew Tate and unfuck themselves a little bit, they wind up getting a girlfriend. Women want someone who understands themselves, confidence, strong. You know, they love a man that works out. This is all stuff that he's telling guys to do. So do you want incels out there that are doing, you know, mass shootings and they're pissed off at the world, or do you want self-actualized, mentally healthy men that are strong forces for good in the world? You know, you can't make men stay in their basements and be lonely and pissed off all the time and feel hopeless, and have them also be positive contributors to society. You're creating a bunch of, you know, outcast freaks that don't understand what their role is. They've lost their way, and that's why so many people have gravitated towards some of these figures that are providing some guidance, because there's a lot of people that are just completely lost out there.
It would worry me if I was genuinely damaging the world. But for you to sit here and say, Andrew, you've become the most Googled man in the world, you have billions of views, and one is now saying that her husband is not the same man she wants him to be, when thousands and thousands of people are saying the opposite, well then I would say
I've
that's...
presented you with case after case after case, with quote after quote after quote of people who are genuinely concerned about the impact you're having, and you brush it off as if it's nothing.
No, what you have done is come here with an agenda, you've come here with loaded questions, you've come here with things taken out of context, you come here with things that you don't understand are satirical, and then you're going to also sit and say that one woman said that her boyfriend changed when he watched one of your videos, and then I don't know what you expect me to say to that. That's
sarcastic and jokes.
No.
That's how you explain the comments you make.
for you to sit down...
Would you
and
like to apologise for any of them?
for you to sit down, and for you to sit down... It's fine, no, it's fine, it's easy. For you to sit down and say that one woman said that her boyfriend watched an Andrew Tate video and now he won't do the dishes, or whatever your argument is, and that I'm somehow the worst, most dangerous man in the world because I have a car, is just disingenuous. And I'm enjoying this interview very much because this shows the world. It's great. It shows the world the truth about the legacy media because they beg me for interviews. They beg me, you have been begging me for months, please, we need to be relevant. And then you come here with loaded questions trying to paint a picture of me, which is completely and utterly false. I am a good positive influence for the world. The things I teach men are stoicism, discipline, self-respect, hard work, obeying authority, listening to your fight coach, working hard in school, making as much money as possible in your job. If you actually watch the things I say, if you actually watch my comments about women, I've done long podcasts for hours long about females, talking about protecting for them, providing for them, how I believe a woman should be treated in a relationship. I've done all of this, but you don't watch any of it, and then you come here and ask me to answer questions I've answered at length thousands of times.
Since you came out of custody, there seems to have been a lot about your charity work.
Correct.
On your social
There's
media.
I've always done the charity work, but now I'm promoting it.
There seems to be a real shift.
Yeah.
I wonder what's behind that.
Well, I've always done the charity work. I've been doing the charity work for years. I believe that it's...
Man, nothing good to say, right? Even the good stuff. They bring it up, but they bring it up in a negative light. They're a one-trick pony. They don't know anything else. They're just critics. You know, they bitch about guys negging girls to, break them down and manipulate them into relationships by saying, oh, all your comments toward a girl are negative. That's what negging is. And some guys think that this works. I mean, it might work in the short term, but eventually they're going to wake up and realize that you suck. And but they do the same thing. You know, they only know one trick, and it's just, oh, you did bad stuff over here, you're bad. Oh, you did good stuff over here, you're still bad, and you're just trying to hide it. Quit it. We know, we're on to you, you know?
It's my legacy to leave a positive influence on the world, and I've been doing charity work for over 5 years. Post my incarceration, my unfair, unjust incarceration, may I add. Post that, I've made it more clear the charity work I'm doing. But this is, once again, very interesting. I spend $25 million a year feeding children. Men, male children, and female children. In Turkey, in Syria, in Iran, and Iraq, I literally spend $25 million a year feeding children. And I'm still the worst man in the world because 4 years ago I made a sarcastic comment?
Because some people would look at that and say, okay, so before you got money from attracting people to your website by making controversial comments, but that might have got you into trouble. And so now you're looking for a new market. You're looking for a new market of followers who are attracted by a different sort of persona.
I've always done the charity work, so that is obviously incorrect. And I have proof that I've always done the charity work, so you're wrong, firstly.
Even if she's right, you not celebrating the man's growth? This is the same thing we do with prison inmates. They go in the system, they serve their time, they come out, we don't forgive them, they can't get a job, they go right back in the system because they can't become legitimate citizens because them serving time, their redemption arc is just never going to be enough. Becoming a better person, the people will always remember the way that they used to be. People can't get past it. Even if you as a person can move on and become better, people can't move on. They can't move past it. So it's really sad, that there are people, there's a lot of people like this that just cannot get past something that happened 10 years ago. Still judging interviews from 4 years ago, not trying to say, well, what's been going on recently? Maybe this threat of incarceration, because I've seen a shift in his attitude. He's become a lot less of a troll and a lot more of a serious person who's really trying to engage on an adult level. And so, in my opinion, if that's the outcome of him getting charged and facing serious consequences for being cavalier and maybe making comments that are toxic, that's a great outcome. And, people should be able to keep up with that and say, oh, wow, this person has become better. I'm going to stop judging them based on the way they used to be, and I'll start maybe giving them a chance and seeing how they are now, because people can change. Some people can't, and that's really sad. But a lot of people are capable of change with a little bit of effort.
I believe that if you have a lot of wealth, you should help people, and I'm helping people. I also think it's very, very interesting that you could not find another celebrity in the UK or anywhere else who's spending £25 million a year feeding children in war-torn countries. I'm doing that, and I've been doing that for a long time without even mentioning it. I never even said it. And now that I've said it, people are going to attack me for it and say that it's disingenuous. The person in Sudan who's eating the meal, do you think they believe it's disingenuous? No, I think they feel pretty good that Andrew Tate fed them. And to sit here and say that I'm a bad person now because I'm manipulating charity, because I'm using charity, I'm just trying to do good in the world. That's all I've ever been trying to do.
When women speak out against you online, disagree with what you say, they describe being bombarded with rape threats, with death threats, trolling by your followers. Would you like to say anything to your followers about how to behave in that situation?
Absolutely, correct. I would love to do that. First things first, I've yet to see a female stand up and argue with me online. I don't ever see hardly any. The only women who message me agree with me. Secondly, I don't think that anybody who disagrees with me, male or female, should be trolled. I don't think they should be insulted or attacked. I think the ideas should be discussed openly and fairly and maturely. It doesn't matter if a man agrees with me or disagrees with me, or a female. I don't think my followers should come along and attack her, and if my followers are doing that, I'm upset by that. But let's make a very important clarification. That's not my followers. That's the internet. If you were to log into any video game lobby, I don't play video games, and someone were to sit there and say something stupid, they would be trolled with similar comments. That's the unfortunate reality of the internet as a whole. That's nothing to do with me. But I encourage all of my followers to engage in open discourse and be fair and honest and talk in a way which is mature. There's no need to troll anybody, male or female.
Okay.
Kathy, anything?
A couple of things. I wonder if it would be worth giving Andrew one more opportunity to consider whether or not he would like to apologise or give an indication of how he feels about the allegations that he has negatively influenced young people in the UK. And secondly, I think we should put on record that this interview is taking place in your house because you're under house arrest. If it were not for that, then we would have chosen another location, I'm sure. We would have negotiated that between us. So I think that's just worth putting on record.
Okay. So just to put on the record then, you've said that you've invited us into your house.
Correct.
We're here because you're under house arrest.
Correct.
If you were free to leave, we would have negotiated a more neutral setting.
Don't you think, as the BBC, it would be very interesting to come here and discuss the fact that I was put in a dungeon for 92 days and then locked in house arrest without charge? Don't you think that's a far more interesting conversation than...
No, they don't want to mention that.
Don't you think that would be interesting?
You're here under house arrest because there's an ongoing...
I mean, they had to eventually let him out. He would still be incarcerated if they could continue to hold him in jail. So not a single mention about the circumstances. I mean, just presumed guilt is what I'm seeing from the UK, and they are a lot more authoritarian than America is. Believe it or not, they're kind of. I wouldn't want to live in England or Australia for that matter. Both places are. They're not afraid to crack down on their people, and their people don't have guns, so they have a lot more latitude as far as really rolling out the police in gear and putting people back in their places if they step out of line.
Investigation into rape and human trafficking allegations against
Correct. I've been incarcerated without charge. And don't you think...
The rape allegation is
it's been dropped.
Has been incarcerated for.
Correct. So I'm incarcerated without charge, and I think that would be a far more interesting conversation than I guess Julian Assange is incarcerated without charge, and nobody's interested in that either. So if you actually wanted to do some genuine journalism and investigation, we could talk about the fact that an innocent man who has yet to be charged with a crime has had his liberty deprived of him. And I think that would be a far more interesting angle than talking about me being the most dangerous man in the world because I own a car.
And this question about schools being very worried about your influence.
Yes.
Boys in primary school, or boys as young as 11 are quoting you.
Well, the schools are trying to neuter boys, so I'm not surprised that the schools are concerned because they're teaching boys that they should be girls, and they're teaching boys about toxic masculinity. And being a man is not toxic, and standing up for yourself and having principles and saying no is not toxic. In fact, it's traditionally been the father's role to say no. Go back and watch some shows about the family from the 80s and 90s, maybe up until the 2000s. But there's all these scenes, go talk to your father, go ask your mother. Mother usually says yes. Mother's very nurturing, wants to make everybody happy, which is excellent for a family. You want your family to be happy. But sometimes there needs to be limits imposed. And generally, when those limits were crossed, the mother would be like, "You're going to be in trouble when your father finds out about this." Um, I'm not even sure if people understand those concepts anymore. You might want to go back and watch some legacy television shows before they get banned, because they're going to have to eradicate that too if they want to fully brainwash people and make them believe there's no difference between the genders and there's no roles that we're more suited to fulfill. There's nothing that men enjoy more than women naturally because they're men. Men are more interested in objects and building things and providing, and women are more interested in caring for people. Most men are not natural caregivers. Um, and I challenge you to show me the evidence, show me the study that tells the opposite story of that. That per capita, men are more interested in caring for other human beings than women. It's just not true. In fact, some of these societies um, that are egalitarian, like Sweden, you actually find that the more freedom that the genders are given, the more they gravitate toward jobs that are actually aligned with their traditional gender interests, is I guess what I would say. Um, so when you have less freedom, sometimes you might take a job out of desperation, like a woman might take a job laying bricks if there's no opportunity to be a nurse. But given the opportunity to be a nurse or a teacher or something like that, you've got a high percentage of women that are interested in these roles, and almost no dental hygienists or nurses are men. That is changing a little bit, but I don't expect it to ever go beyond 50% the other way. Teachers, you're going to have a decent percentage of males, especially teaching the sciences and things like that, but it is the way it is. It's better to try and understand the world than fundamentally change it and rock that you're just tipping the boat over and fucking everybody else with your fucked up ideas about what you want to change, because it becomes so confusing to exist in a world that makes no sense, that no one can do it except for the architects that are coming up with these stupid changes that they want to make that don't even align with our natural instincts.
At school, attacking girls, refusing to respect female teachers.
Yeah.
Would you like to say anything about that?
I'd like to say a lot. First things first, as I've repeatedly said, and the only reason I keep repeating it is because I'm sure this interview will be edited. I am a positive force for the world, and I teach children discipline. I teach the world discipline, male or female, of any age. And a lot of women listen to me as well. 40% of the people who listen to me are actually female. Secondly, I do understand with my massive influence, and I am now the one of the most influential people on the planet, that I do have to be slightly more careful with things I say. I'm not going to disagree with that. The idea that I said something 5 years ago on a video that got 300 views...
So what do you mean, being slightly more careful?
I'll give you an example. Some of the jokes I made 4 or 5 years ago on a YouTube channel that got 300...
Joe Rogan said the same thing. As his audience grew, he then realized that he had an obligation to make sure that he is not putting out false information. When only 300 people are seeing something, no big deal. But as your audience grows, so does your responsibility to verify that you are putting good information out there. I mean, everybody can have their own opinion, but I'm not, my bullshit meter is not going off when he's saying that he's trying to do right by humanity. There's a bunch of people, Ice Cube, I just watched an interview about him sitting down and talking with Tucker Carlson, saying he just wants to do right by the people. And I think there's a lot of people that are, especially as you get older, and you get a little bit of perspective and you realize that you're not going to be here forever. You realize everything's not just about you, and you reach a point where you genuinely do want to make the world a better place if you have the bandwidth to do so, and not everybody does. And that's why the people that can do it are generally celebrated and appreciated for their contribution, instead of just getting shit on, And for all the people that supposedly express concern about his content, there's at least one person out there that has benefited from his content, I would submit, based on the amount of attention that he's getting. I would say maybe it's 50-50. I would like to think it's more skewed in the direction of more people finding his content positive and helpful than just eyes on him due to hate. But I don't know I don't think anybody fully knows that. Maybe Google with all their data mining, all of our information that they have stored in their massive server farms that we don't know. All the Alexa recordings and the Google Home recordings of you having private conversations that's on their servers. And for anybody who doesn't think that's a real thing, I mean, there's recordings that people have pulled off of Amazon servers. No, actually, they pulled Amazon recordings off of Google servers. So they do record you, even if it is just for improving their system. The recordings are there, and they definitely never look through those or have an AI run through it and capture and organize that data. They definitely do not.
100 views.
That's why you never see ads for like a pickup truck after you talk about thinking about buying a pickup truck. Never. No one's ever had that happen, right?
No longer make
Like what?
Like the OnlyFans joke, the one you mentioned repeatedly. When she said, "My man's car is my car," and then she said she did OnlyFans, and I said, "What do you saw on OnlyFans?" She said, "My tits," and I said, "Well, those are your man's tits." As a joke, ha ha ha. Everybody laughed. The fact that I could do that on a podcast 5 years ago and only got 300 views, now I understand I'm the most influential man on the face of the planet. I would be more careful with certain things I say. That doesn't mean the things I originally said were genuinely out to harm people.
Do you really believe you're the most influential man on the face of the planet?
I'm the most Googled person on the planet.
Do you believe you're the most influential man on the face of the planet?
I'm the most Googled man on the planet.
I think we're done.
Oh, she's like, motherfucker. Good thing I don't have a knife.
Thanks, Lucy. It was enjoyable. Nice to meet you. No, it was fun. It was good. I enjoyed it. De-mic me. I don't want to damage anything. Thank you. Very nice to meet you, Lucy. Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
That's that. Not much else more to say, I think. I think if looks could kill, though, Andrew Tate would be dead at the end of that interview. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I can't wait for this unknown situation to resolve itself. I think there's a lot of people out there that would like to know how this is going to work out because, I don't want to support someone who is genuinely involved with the things that he's being involved with. If that is true, I don't want anything to do with supporting any of the content that was made during that period. But we don't know, and so far he's out for some reason. And according to the Tucker Carlson interview, there's not much there, but that remains to be seen with the decision. I guess we'll find out. All right, guys, take care. I'm not suicidal. I would never kill myself.